I'd like to talk about BMELT, which is Blending MOOCs for English Language Teacher Training, and how we moved to BMELT, Blending MOOCs for English Language Teacher Education. I've been involved in computer-assisted language learning for over 30 years, and I've always believed that it's a good idea to repurpose rather than to reinvent the wheel. When the Future Learn MOOCs started in 2013, I saw an opportunity for good quality resources to be integrated into the teacher education curriculum here at Coventry University, where I teach. So my students on the Masters in English Language Teaching and Applied Linguistics have been involved in using various MOOCs for the purpose of learning how to teach English. And sometimes they're not English-specific MOOCs, they are English for Business, English for Geography, or Geography MOOCs, or Business MOOCs. So what we do, we try and create a blend which is quite original. Some people call it a flipped Web 3.0 blend, distributed. Why is it distributed? Because students use MOOCs in class, face-to-face, but then they talk to people on the MOOC who come from a global community of practice from all over the world. So they will connect with them, but then go back into the classroom, and there is like a dance between the classroom situation, the individual experience of the MOOC at home, and then the global experience. So it's kind of a glocal experience, as discussed by Bax in his normalization of MOOCs theorization. The idea was we had 12 teachers coming from Nanjing Agricultural University, and they came from a summer school to upskill, to learn how to do English for specific purposes, how to learn how to do English for academic purposes, and to be exposed to new ways of teaching and learning. We decided to ask them to engage with a MOOC, and we chose a business-related MOOC because they wanted to learn how to do something different. And there was an interesting outcome from this, that they really liked the videos. We're talking about teaching English in higher education. All these teachers were from the higher education sector at Nanjing Agricultural University. They teach what is called college English, which is general English for a special exam for the Chinese ministry, or they teach English for specific purposes, mainly academic purposes, for writing essays and doing presentations. So it was a good idea to let them choose the MOOC they preferred, and they chose this MOOC on business because it was about enhancing your communication skills. This is a Future Learn MOOC from the Open University, and it covers effective communication skills. So the students who were teachers, in class they did first of all a pre-MOOC survey to see what they knew about MOOCs, and 4 of them were already using MOOCs and the others not.
Before I came to Coventry University, I only vaguely know what MOOC is. But when I came back to China, I found that many Chinese universities started to offer online MOOC courses. And I think the integration of MOOC into our English course could make students be exposed to more input before class, so that the class time is saved to some extent, and the students could have more time to deliver their output, and that is very important, especially for our English course.
So the idea of working with MOOCs is the idea of working by doing. So we have the level of reflection, because the students have to reflect, or student teachers have to reflect in action while doing the MOOC, on action after having done the MOOC, and for action, as suggested by Mann and Walsh in a recent book on reflection in English language teaching, once they've done the MOOC, for the future application of the MOOC or of the activity in their own classrooms. So the teachers in class discussed MOOCs, did the pre-MOOC survey, and then they started engaging with the MOOC, and then they were working in groups to think of activities they could carry out based on the MOOC. And as I say, the thing they picked up on most were the videos. And it was a way of repurposing the videos for their own use. And some very interesting activities came out of this, as for example this one, which is exemplified in this slide, or this one, which talks about how to train interpreters and translators while using communication skills. So the idea is then as well that once they created these tasks, they posted them into the conversations in the MOOC, and they had a dialogue with thousands of people who were also using the MOOC. And it was a cross-disciplinary dialogue because this MOOC attracted people from business, but also English language teachers, but also other people who were interested in learning about business communication. So for this reason, they were exposed to a kind of multidisciplinary global community of practice, while at the same time having the opportunity to go back into the classroom, discuss face-to-face with their peers and with their tutors, and at the same time also use the tailor-made Moodle environment with the discussion forum, which had been made just for their privacy in the classroom and outside the classroom. So various layers here and kind of circles of flipped blend, because it was classroom, Moodle, external, global connection. So this is quite interesting, and it creates kind of dynamism to the teaching environment and the learning environment.
我觉得慕课呢有好几个优点呢。首先就是说它没有时空限制，你随时随地都可以看，只要有网络。其次呢，就是说慕课的授课内容，你可以反复的，一般情况下都可以反复的去学习。第三呢，就是这个学习的人他可以自己比较自由的控制进度，比较方便。慕课通常你可以除了可以听以外，还可以看它底下的那个文字版，这样呢信息就更全面。当然也有一点技术上的一些不便，比方说在有一些国家的和地区，它那个因为网速比较慢，所以呢不是很流畅。
The idea was also to encourage them to meta-reflect on what it is like to become a teacher of English or be a teacher of English while being immersed in technology, while communicating with thousands of people outside your own environment, while clicking buttons and completing sections in a MOOC. And even if they knew what a MOOC was, many of them had never taken part into a MOOC. In fact, 8 out of 12 had never done that.
I just learned a MOOC during the last 2 months, and which is called a TESOL Strategy Enriching Classroom. And according to my personal experience, I found some strong points of learning a MOOC. You can learn it whenever and wherever you want by using your computer or using your cell phone. And you can learn at your own pace. And during the learning process, I noticed one thing, that is, every time you finish the content of each section, then you can see a pink button. So if you press that button, it will become into a color blue, and you can see a tick in the middle. And after finishing the whole MOOC, I can see the flag of completion. But there is one thing, the MOOC is not completely free unless you upgrade by paying for £52. So by upgrading, you can have unlimited use of the MOOC, and you can apply for the certificate of completion. So I applied for my own, and a week after, I received a physical certificate.
So on the whole, the experience was immersive, it was dialogic, it was interactive, and it was interactive at various levels. But what was interesting was that they all declared at the end of the experience they wanted to adopt MOOCs for their own teaching. And I went back to visit them in Nanjing a few months after the summer school. And what happened was that when I interviewed them again in focus group interviews, it turned out that only the 4 teachers who were already using MOOCs had carried on using MOOCs, but the other 8 had not. This was quite interesting to me and not what I was expecting. So when asked why there were issues to do with incorporating MOOCs, repurposing MOOCs, they said there was one major factor which emerged, which I'd not realized was so important. These teachers operate in a Confucius kind of culture where the teacher is the sage on stage. The teacher has to be the sage on stage. They must know everything. They cannot not be able to answer questions. So there was this fear that by using an off-the-shelf MOOC, like the one we used in the course, they might undermine their authority because a student could ask a question they could not answer. So on the whole, the 8 teachers who did not utilize existing MOOCs did not want to use them because of fear of losing face and authority. and not being in control.
Many teachers think the task of teaching has been traditionally defined as transmitting wisdom, imparting knowledge, and solving doubts. So teachers are expected to provide feedback and answers whenever students have any doubts. If teachers fail to provide accurate and clear answers, students will feel depressed, and the teachers themselves will also feel embarrassed. Many teachers are reluctant to give students the freedom to choose a number of self-resources and MOOC resources.
The other 4 were quite daring, on the other hand, and they were using off-the-shelf MOOCs, and they were using both Chinese and English MOOCs, FutureLearn and homemade MOOCs. So we also asked what could we do to kind of lower the fear of the off-the-shelf MOOC, and they said other factors came into play. For example, the solidity, robustness of the server in the institution, technical support, and students' willingness to engage with something new as well, because of course some students do not want to engage with technology in some settings, and they expect a different experience. Their parents expect a different experience. So the teachers were a bit cagey about going into the unknown of the off-the-shelf MOOC. But on the other hand, they were all creating their own MOOCs. So they still learned how to create useful materials and useful videos, even if they were not prepared to use and repurpose what was already there.